switch it up a little bit since I haven't had a chance to evaluate some of the things. Administrator McCarthy, there was a memorandum prepared by the senior Army Corps of employees detailing serious legal and scientific deficiencies with the Water of the United States rule were reported in the news this week. Are you aware of those memos?
I have been reading about them, yes.
Okay. Are you aware of the legal and scientific deficiencies raised by the Corps in those memos?
Just from what I've read, I have not seen the memo myself.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to submit the memos and the attachments into the record and share some of those concerns with you right now.
With hearing no concerns, without objections to order.
An April 27, 2015 memo from Major General John Peabody, Deputy Commanding General for the Corps Civil and Emergency Operations states, and I quote, "The rule's contradictions with legal principles, general, multiple legal and technical consequences that, in the view of the Corps, would be fatal to the rule in its current form. As is, the rule will be legally, quote, vulnerable, difficult to defend in court, difficult for the Corps to explain or to justify, and challenging for the Corps to implement," end of quote. The rule has abandoned principles of sound science, quote, and introduced indefensible provisions into the rule. A May 15, 2015 memo states, EPA's analysis underlying the rule is, quote, flawed in multiple respects, and the Corps' review could not find a justifiable basis to the analysis for many of the document's conclusions. Now, question, this rule was jointly issued by the EPA and Army Corps, is that correct?
That is correct.
Assistant Secretary of the Army Joanne Darcy testified before the House Transportation Committee in June that the Army Corps, quote, took these concerns and walked through them with the EPA before finalizing the rule. Is that your understanding?
That is my understanding, yes.
Can you confirm that the EPA knew about these concerns before finalizing the rule?
Since I am not privy to the exact language in the memo, I can't speak directly, but I can tell you that in working with Joellen Darcy on this rule, she indicated that all of the concerns of the Army Corps had been satisfied in moving forward with the final. I individually had conversations with her about the changes that the Army Corps was interested in making as the proposal moved through the interagency process, and I understood that everything had been fully satisfied.
Really? The EPA has publicly stated that it worked closely and carefully with the Army Corps to make sure, just as you said, sure that all concerns were addressed before finalization. In its April 27, 2015 memo, the Corps asserts that, to date, the fixes have not been adopted, so the flaw remains. Did the EPA adopt the Corps' recommended changes to the final version of the rule published on June 29, 2015?
I wasn't privy to the exact interagency discussion within the Army Corps. I was privy with, I had a close working relationship, as did our staff, and that's what produced the final rule, and I understood that all concerns were satisfied.
Well, that's why these two documents come out here showing the quite contradiction, because they're saying that they weren't met. Once again, I see the EPA saying that they're above the law, not only in rulemaking, and you're aware that there are numerous Supreme Court rulings that defy you actually going into this waters of the U.S. application. You got serious comments in regards to the Army Corps of Engineers that you're supposed to team up with, and yet you sit here and tell me that we've made sure that it's all taken care of, but yet it's not. What am I supposed to believe when I hear just the testimony that you gave in front of the chairman, and now I'm looking at waters of the U.S.? It's just a blatant disregard for the rule of law. Do you have any comments in regards to that?
I disagree with that, sir. I think it follows
the you can disagree all you want, but the facts are the facts, are they not, ma'am?
They certainly are.
And so there's huge deficiencies with this rule. But yet you didn't take the time to move it forward, to do it properly. What you did is you forced it down just like everybody else does within this agency. And so who cares about the rules? You know, I come from Arizona, where water is for fighting over, whiskey's for drinking. So these are very, very important to us, particularly in the West.
They are.
And they're overreaching beyond that. So I find it very defiant of you sitting here and in light of these two documents, stating that you actually worked with the Army Corps of Engineers, that it's ingrained within the rule, but it's not ingrained in the rule. And you perpetuated a bad rule that has legal consequences and has ramifications for states and water use throughout this country. Shame on you. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.